2, 1. Well, good morning. It's Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 at 8 a.m. I'll call the SELCO Commission meeting to order. First on our agenda is to review and consider approval of the December 2024, January 2025, and February 2025 bill schedules and warrants. We also had something from Stacy Suter that was kind of a correction that, I don't know, did anybody receive that email? Take a look at those.
I didn't.
Tracy?
I didn't get that, no.
Well, Stacy, I don't see her. One of the things that she wanted, it was just some corrections that the town had paid for our oil down at the, our generators down by.
Is that why we
Home
kept
Depot.
getting diesel charges?
Yeah. diesel-
Those were the diesel
Yeah, so
charges?
this is the
Okay,
charge, yeah,
okay.
So we've ironed that out with the town, and the other one was another just correction where she shifted on the warrants. But with that said, if everybody's had a chance to take a look at those three warrants and bill schedules, I'll take a motion to accept the December 2024 one first. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Nope.
If not, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the January 2025 bill schedules and warrants. Any comments or questions? Not hearing any. Do we have a motion to accept that?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and finally, the February 2025 bill schedules and warrants. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
So moved, and
Second.
second on that, so we're all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. The next thing, we'll move to the next item, which is review and consider approval of the meeting minutes of February 25th, 2025. Do we have any comments or corrections to be made to those minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to
Wait,
I
accept?
You-
thought I
Oh,
saw
oh.
one change. There was a typo in your name, maybe. It said Holland or instead of
Oh.
Holland, maybe,
It's a Dutch spelling.
towards the end.
All right, we can,
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have it open
No,
yet.
that's all right.
In one of the minutes, there was a period instead of a comma, and the other one was your
Yeah.
name misspelled. Or just missing the D. You could check for it.
Okay, and with those comments,
send those down that way.
okay. Any other comments or questions on that? If not, we have a motion to accept with the corrections provided by Mr. Ruffolo.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Next is the announce approval and release of executive session minutes pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 22G1. So there are three previous, well, actually two meetings that we had, but three separate items that were discussed. The first two of May 28th, 2024, which was when we discussed the general manager's contract and also the cable franchise agreement, which was on the same letter, but that was dealing with charter discussions that were going on at that time. With those two, do we have any comments or corrections to those executive session minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept A and B?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the third one was December 17th of 2024, which was discussions on union, preparations for union negotiations with our union local IBW 326. If there's any comments or questions on those, hearing none, do we have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Okay,
Aye, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now to get to the meat of the matter for today, review and consider approval of the electric rate increase effective May 1st, 2025. And with that, we have some people that are going to discuss that. Please introduce yourself and we'll get on with it.
Good morning, I'm Becca Keene. I'm our Director of Integrated Resources and Customer Experience.
I'm Patrick Collins, Integrated Resources Analyst.
Okay, do you have any preference or preamble here, or
We
just?
just have a couple minutes.
Great, okay, have at it.
Quick. Yeah, so we're back hopefully to conclude our multi-part series discussion on this rate increase. We sent you a memo with the proposed rate changes. And then before we ask you to vote, I just wanted to quickly recap what brought us here. So we first learned of the need for the rate increase during our 2024 cost of service study. And then our internal budget analysis from December and January confirmed that need. And then at last month's meeting, we discussed scenarios for achieving the 8% in revenue that we need to add to this year and beyond. And then Patrick's pulled up the memo, and we just wanted to remind everyone what the the summary of impacts for the major rating classes?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can
this
run through
page.
that.
Yeah.
So residential is going to experience a 5% overall increase. So that's around $5 to the average or example bill, 750 kilowatt hours. For commercial, we did an 11% increase, and for this 3,000 kilowatt hour example, that would be a $55 increase. And for the larger GS classes, it would see around 690 increase for GS1 and around 1,300 for GS2. Municipal around $37 for their 9% increase.
And just one quick note, we have not brought forth a proposed rate for private lighting or protective lighting. That's gonna take a little more administrative work behind the scenes. We'll bring that back to you in a couple months.
Are the kilowatt hours you're using an average? Like, is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yep. Based on actuals that we confirmed pretty recently for all classes, right?
Yeah, I would say residential is more of an average. 750 is what we would call an average. The other ones are around average, but more example. They're more round numbers. So.
Okay.
Okay, Maria, before you had a concern on commercial rates, and we had adjusted that a little bit. Are you satisfied with what, I know you won't be satisfied with a higher rate, but I mean.
Well, no, I think our goal was to get, and I think if we go to the first page of the memo, like getting it closer to the cost of service, right? Getting that, so it's not that far over. It looks like it's breaking even, so,
Yeah.
yes, I'm satisfied. Thank you for taking another look at that.
And I think that was the big driver, was to make sure that people were paying equitably as to what they were receiving for services, and making that adjustment, right? And, okay. So do you have any recommendations for us?
We recommend that you approve the rate charges in the memo.
Okay, just so that we get it up on the screen, can we just go to show where Shrewsbury, can we just show the chart, that the bar graph, that where Shrewsbury stands with this rate increase, so that people realize this is not an astronomical a jump or a prompt jump in.
But we don't know if some of these other towns are gonna be increasing theirs also.
Correct.
Right.
This data is from December 24, so there's a good chance that others are adjusting their rates as we are. And we get these memos quarterly, so we'll update that next time. Actually, we should get the next one pretty soon.
Okay, and just for home, the folks that have had gas and had seen their gas bills go exceeding up, even though the price of gas didn't go up, the transmission costs went up. Yeah. How does this play on our electric rates? It is an example for transmission rates versus what you're paying for electricity. Is it just the 5% overall for residents?
Not for me, in a neighboring town, it was much more than that.
Yeah. Okay, but for us, that's all inclusive.
Oh, for residential, yeah, oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and transmission costs were the major driver of this rate change, are large, actually. So
Yeah.
this is addressing that directly.
Okay. So with that said, then I guess I'm looking for
Need a motion?
a motion to accept the rates as proposed on the first paragraph of the recommended motion, that recommend the commission vote to adjust SELCO's electric rates effective May 1st, which means they won't get billed till the end of May, which means they don't get paid till the end of June,
Right.
correct? By the following overall percentage increases, and to implement the charge rates provided in the rate charge adjustment section of this memo.
So
And with
moved.
that, do we have a motion? Yep, so moved.
Second.
Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, do we need a vote on rate changes, or, I don't think we do. I think it's just overall, the vote is 4-0.
I think so.
Okay,
And
Thank-
they're on the, oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they're listed in more detail on
Yeah.
that last page.
Yeah, great.
So you see the individual line items.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you very much. And the next thing we have is the marketing plan for this electric rate increase. You folks handling that too?
Actually, no, we're gonna switch teams.
Oh, you're gonna pass that off, I see. Yeah, I want to make sure that the listening audience, if this is the first time they're catching us for a few months, is that over the last several months, we've been discussing these rate increases and balancing and making the proposals, so that this is not just pulling a rabbit out of a hat as far as what's been going on. It's been a long-term study, and I think it's it equalizes across the board the folks that are using electricity, and handles the new development of larger industries in town that pay their fair share. Okay, thank you. Yes, and you folks are?
I'm Valerie Clemming, Communications Coordinator.
And I'm Rick Maxian, Marketing Communications Manager.
Welcome aboard.
So this memo is basically to follow up during the previous presentation from Becca in February. You had requested information on our plans to communicate the rate increase. So we put together this memo with examples in it, but our main, I guess, 5 bullet points are we'll reach out on the website with a 2025 rate increase. Everybody can go to that page. And the example for that page is in the memo, so you guys can see how the page will get laid out. We are going to be doing the quarterly newsletter. So this is a brand new Every Door direct newsletter to all residents and commercial customers in Shrewsbury. That'll be coming to your doors in early April. So in that hard copy, it'll have a little link for the rate increase. We always do on-bill messaging, so that'll continue. It'll be in all the bills in April and May for the upcoming increase. Then the Smart Hub customer portal. So if everyone is used to Smart Hub now, or if you don't have it, you should sign up. There will be notification on there too, so you'll get a little pop-up type thing that says the rate increase for May 1 for June bills will happen, and it'll give a little bit more in there. We're going to be doing the newspaper legal ad. That's always required, so that'll be out there. And then we're always providing talking points to customer service. So if any calls happen, we want to make sure our CSRs have exactly what they need to answer any questions. So we'll be providing that. And like I said, at the end of this memo, you can see this is exactly how the web page will be set up. So it'll have all the information. It'll have all the impacts on rate classes, just what you saw from the previous presentation from Patrick and Becca. You'll have comparisons in there too, so to the IOUs in addition to our previous rate. So you'll be able to see that, for instance, the SELCO electric, the residential rate was $112. It's now going to be $118, and Eversource, National Grid, and Util are still considerably higher. So that is, I guess, in the essence of time, that is our plan. I don't know if you have any feedback, questions, or anything like that.
Okay. Not to diverge, but Smart Hub, how many people, what percentage of our customers have converted
We have
to Smart?
surpassed the 70% mark.
Okay, because the only thing I've seen is on social media, some people having problems with their bills, but it ends up that that they weren't on Smart Hub.
Yeah, exactly. I'll touch upon that. The bill issue was in so when we switched over in 23, in March of 2024, we ended our lockbox address, and the mail has stopped being forwarded. So what that means is everyone who hasn't updated their accounts or the address since 2023, since we switched to the new system, those bills are no longer being forwarded. So you have to update it in your bank and stuff like that. And we've sent out a lot of informational things on this. We put out the notification again on the website, letting people know it's not a big deal. Just update your address and your account numbers, and you'll be able to pay it again. Right now it looks like it affected, maybe less than 100 people, but
Okay, but we're aggressively getting everybody to reach out.
yeah, we're getting. It's actually even according to NISC, who is our provider for Smart Hub, they were very impressed. We were one of the only ones that hit 70% so quickly. So
Okay, because I mean, there's some people, especially some of the elderly that don't have
Mhm.
internet, that we reaching out with the snail mail and whatnot to
Yep.
make sure we get everybody squared away.
Yep, absolutely, and that's actually one of the key reasons why we're doing the Every Door Direct newsletter now quarterly.
Okay. Any other questions on the marketing plan? Okay, there's nothing to approve other than
No,
carry on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I guess one of you going to stay, or both of you going to stay to give us a Selco stream update?
I am.
Oh, and come on down and introduce yourself.
Hi again. I'm Aaron LaCoyer. I am the Broadband Technologies Network and System Operations Manager.
Okay?
and Rick Maxey, Marketing and Communications Manager again. All right, so we're just gonna give a quick update as to some new things with SELCO Stream and to touch base on some of the issues that have happened in the last 3 weeks. So one of the key things to understand for SELCO Stream is delivered to all the Shrewsbury homes and businesses via a few key partners. One of our main partners, Minerva, that's who has created the app. So that's the actual application that you see when you're watching TV. So they manage the app. They provide the video on demand catalog, the DVR storage, and the TV guide. CNI is our video distributor. So this is the company that actually provides the video feeds and acts as kind of like a data center for Minerva. So this would be all of the national feeds over satellite signals that all get sent to CNI directly, and then CNI sends the signal to us. Cogent is what provides the transport over the internet from CNI to Shrewsbury. So just to show quick, Minerva, like I said, this is the application. So this is what you see when you get on screen. And if you use SELCO Stream or your TV Green, it's the exact same platform, still Minerva. CNI, I guess you could probably talk to this one a little bit.
Sure, I don't. So this is just a network topology of our communication with CNI. So to not get too granular here, long story short, as you can see, there are a lot of appliances here that affect how this system runs. CNI is essentially doing what we used to do here locally, but on a grander scale, right? So all of those national channels and our local channels as well are all transcoded in Chicago by this company CNI. So they have, multiple network data centers. They have multiple transcoding appliances. So there's redundancy built in for them. They're a larger company. So when we made the migration to this Minerva SELCO Stream product, we made the decision to have CNI do the transcoding for us, because from a redundancy perspective, it just made way more sense. Because if something happened to our one head end that we have, in Shrewsbury, video would be out permanently, right? We have no solution for that. Where a bigger company like this can switch to a different data center and or just have more appliances than we can in general. So anyway, this is kind of the network flow. They do the transcoding for us. They send it down over those links that Rick was describing from the company Cogent, and then we ingest it and then send it out to our subscribers. So our local channels, we have to send up to CNI, and then they send back the local and nationals to us all transcoded so everyone can watch it on their home TV.
So to touch on Cogent's connections, this is what actually sends the signal back to Shrewsbury, and you can see where their major hubs are. One of the things that we've noticed and we're trying to figure out a way around is most of it flows through Cleveland. And so I know Aaron probably can touch upon this a little bit better than I can, but we've seen some issues with that, and so we're trying to change going forward.
Yeah, so those are just big intercontinental and continental fiber links for that company. So all of those blue lines you see, those are massive fiber trunks, right? Like there's a lot of data running on those lines. That isn't just Cogent as well. There's a lot of companies like us. There's a lot of municipalities that have service through that. But there's also massive carriers as well, like your Comcast and your Charter and all of those. So, as you can see, the map is kind of small on the screen. But as Rick mentioned, that Cleveland hub that's in the middle, of the country there. When we had the hurricane issues, like not Shrewsbury, right? We had no hurricane problems. But when the South had all those hurricane problems, they had a bunch of these major fiber trunks cut, and they had to reroute that traffic. When they rerouted that traffic, it overloaded that Cleveland hub because it couldn't handle the traffic not being able to flow other directions. And so that impacted our service. Even though we're completely removed from the hurricane issue, it still affected us. So, we've taken I don't know if we want to get into what we've done.
We can keep going.
Okay.
Because we kind of touched upon it. So
Sure.
For the recent service interruptions, so in the last 3 weeks, we've had a few interruptions that have happened that have affected our SELCO stream. And these were caused by technical issues, mostly beyond our direct control, but we've taken steps to improve the system stability as a whole. And so the causes are, we had sun outages. I mean, this is, and I'll get into that, Minerva CNI platform issues, and then the Cogent transport issues. So sun outages happens twice a year. It is not, it happened on Legacy, just like Stream. It's still any channel that's provided over a satellite is going to have the issue. So what happens is the satellite, basically, when the sun aligns with the satellite transmitting the signals to our system, interference occurs and causes a brief service interruption. That's the pixelization, stuff like that you see. These outages are very short. It's about 15 minutes per channel per day, between 10 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Essentially, if you can see the sun, there's a potential of a sun outage. And that is only for a couple of weeks in the early part of the year, and then a couple weeks at the later part of the year. So local channels and on-demand streaming weren't really affected by this, and we don't really. This is not something that we could really control. So.
But these are also issues that aren't just SELCO.
It's not just SELCO, yeah. So a lot of these issues, especially the sun outages and that type of thing, it's just anybody who's still submitting a signal over a satellite. Once we actually, if you can start getting more of the direct IP-based signals, like which we are doing for a lot of our channels, and it removes the satellite from the picture, that will actually just go away at some point. But that would be.
Can you have the solar issues, though, at night? Because
so we can have it's a little different because our satellite feeds are in Chicago now. So a lot of those satellite feeds are coming from Chicago. Their sun is different than ours, essentially. So you can have it in the early evening here where it will be dark because it's still light in Chicago. But once it's dark, no.
Okay.
You can't have any issues.
Yeah. So much for sun.
Yeah.
So the platform issues we had on March 3rd through the 7th, which people experienced. We had the content cannot be displayed issue that was going on, right? Anybody who was watching their TV saw that problem. It was a perfect storm of situations that occurred, but long story short, we had that circuit that connects us directly to Chicago, right? That long path of fiber we talked about. There was an issue in congestion on that circuit. It prevented the company CNI that we mentioned earlier to communicate with their load balancer to communicate with our servers here in our data center, right? And so they showed those as offline. That caused a hiccup in the system, and it caused anybody with SELCO Stream service to have to try to reconnect, right? Like their app went, oh hey, I don't have service, let me reconnect. that reconnect flooded another appliance in that environment and caused it to essentially lock up. And so they had to go in and do work on that server in order to clear the disruption. And so in doing that, they found a larger issue at hand that the system should be able to handle all, even if all of our subscribers went down, the system should be able to handle everybody communicating at a given time, but it couldn't do that. So that's already been repaired. They've introduced two things that fixed it. One, the capacity of the servers themselves was increased so they can handle the load, but in addition, we modified our SELCO Stream app and pushed an update to the App Store, which did an automatic download for people. They might not have even noticed it happened. That download prevents our SELCO Stream app requiring to even communicate with that server. So we bypassed the issue altogether at this point, but in the short term, we increased the capacity of what that server could handle. So it was a two-step fix for that problem. So that part of the issue has been resolved. The communication with the load balancer itself that triggered all of this has also been resolved. We've migrated the traffic to a different circuit, so it no longer is going down the path that had the problem. That path is still active in the background. No one's using it currently, but we're testing on it to verify that it's clean and that we won't have any more problems. But we have redundancy there, so we're on a completely new path right now. So both of those issues got resolved. Okay, so on March 14th, we had another issue. This only affected our local channels. So as I described earlier, we send local channels up to this company, CNI, and then they transcode it, which is what we used to do here, and then they send it back along with the national channels. Our local channels, the way we transmit that traffic to them is a network terminology called multicast traffic. It's more sensitive than the other alternative, which is unicast. It's a protocol between layer 2 and layer 3. I won't get into the nitty-gritty details on that, but long story short, there was a fiber issue down in Atlanta up to New Jersey, and when we showed that map of all the different fiber paths, the rerouting of that traffic, although to Cogent's knowledge, traffic flowed fine and they redirected all the traffic, but when they redirected all that traffic, it hit our circuit. And the way we send our traffic to them, that video traffic is very sensitive. And so the added traffic that got rerouted because of a fiber cut that had nothing to do with us in a different part of the country, it affected our video traffic. So once we determined that that was the case, we were working closely with Cogent. We ended up taking that circuit offline and redirecting, and it cleared up the issue. It took longer than we wanted to get to that point where we're like, oh, okay, here's the multicast problem, because we have to work with these vendors that aren't us, right? We have to communicate with them. We have to explain, hey, it's not an issue on our end. We've got to jump through hoops with that. But we have a solution now. If we do see that problem again, fiber gets cut somewhere else in the country, we have steps that we can take to get ourselves up and running without even having to engage them. So progress there as well. And in addition, we now have two separate companies that we can use for those major fiber links. That we have that Cogent that Rick mentioned earlier, but now we have a company, Hurricane Electric, as well. So we have the ability to completely switch to a different company for our transit if we need it.
They still out of Chicago too?
Yeah, it all ends in Chicago because that's where the company's CNI is. So no matter what, it all has to get to Chicago, but it helps us avoid that Cleveland hub. Like, that's what we're working towards, right? So we can route around it all the way up and around, either up through Canada or down through the south, so that we're not stuck with just one pain point, which is what we had previously. So a lot of stuff I know I just threw at you there, but like I said, there were multiple problems, all of which we had to address.
Okay, and last Friday morning?
Friday morning.
Well, last Friday was the
Same. No, there was. No,
About 8 in the
Friday would've
morning?
been the 18th. We've been local issues. Local
sorry,
channels
oh.
again. Is it the same issue?
Yeah, so, no, give me 1 sec. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Friday, yeah, I just talked about this as
That
well.
was the 21st.
Last Friday morning was an issue with cluster 3 and 4. It was a CNI appliance. that traffic is currently migrated to what they call their live clusters. So all those appliances we showed earlier, the transcoding that they're doing, they had multiple failures on their clusters 3 and 4, which affected our video feeds. They migrated that to and that's the point of that, going with them. They have different backup appliances. They migrated to another appliance, another server that's handling all of our transcoding right now. That service is still on that backup transcoder. They've cleaned the one that they had issues with, but they haven't reintroduced it into the system yet. So that's unfortunately, I know it seems like a lot right now, but that is a completely unrelated issue to what we experienced previously or what I described previously. It's just another problem that happened. But if it was us locally, we would be waiting for equipment to arrive, right? Like, because we wouldn't have the amount that they have. So although we don't want any outages, at least by having them doing the transcoding for us, they were able to switch the traffic. It just, it stinks when people go down and it takes an hour for service to come back online, but that's the nature of migrating all that traffic and the work that it's doing.
So some of the things that we're looking at for potential like future fixes would be the local transcoding. We are going to explore an investment to transcode the 1 through 34 channels locally. So we would reduce our dependency on the Chicago-based infrastructure and any of Cogent's related stuff. So that's something we're looking into. The secure, reliable transport. Aaron touched upon the multicast versus what they call unicast signal, and so our core connection is developing. CNI is developing integration of the next generation streaming protocol, which is going to be released in 2025. And what that means is basically that traffic that is very sensitive to
Rerouting.
the rerouting would no longer happen. It wouldn't have an issue. So everything would be treated almost like what the national feeds. So that would be a much better thing. So that's coming in 2025 as well. And then Aaron touched upon this on the enhanced monitoring. So we've increased our tracking with CNI and Cogent to identify and resolve the network congestion issues more proactively than we've done in the past. So.
Any comments or questions?
Just a
Randy?
question about the local transcoding. So you still have the satellite dishes that you have to do this?
Yeah,
We
and
do.
then we have to send that
Send it
data
out.
out to Chicago for the transcoding.
Yeah. So if we were to bring it in-house, it would not have to go to Chicago. So.
But it would have to be blended with what's coming in.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's still right, those
It's-
national channels. And in addition, from a financial aspect, it's like, what will it cost for us to have at least an adequate level of redundancy? We avoid that link going out, but at the same time, we would never have as many of the servers or backup infrastructure.
Okay. Mike? Any-
Right.
Nothing.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're only as good as your last circle, blue circle of death.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but just think about like how many more channels, like look at all the channels we have, like that we have to support. And it's like, I mean, it's not like we have antennas out there and we're fixing the
No,
antenna on our
right.
TV. I mean, and we had a limited number of stations, so I mean,
HD, yeah.
yeah, we have to be patient with like.
In the
e-
broad scope of
process
things, right,
that
like
is
live streaming streaming services have been around for a while now, your Netflixes and stuff like that, but live streaming, you only have a few major players in the field. YouTube, I mean, Google's huge, right? And then you have Fubo. But outside of that, and Hulu, I guess, but outside of that, really, like, look at Netflix when they tried to do their first live broadcast. It was a disaster. And that's Netflix. They're massive. So every month that goes by, we make improvements to the system. Over the course of the year, when we look back and see what we've done for SELCO Stream, whether it's app upgrades or like our Evo Box upgrades, like all of that, it's kind of crazy because it's so new for us, so, and everyone.
Well, good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay. And is what everybody tunes in for every month, the general manager's highlights.
Thank you, I appreciate
Very well
that.
researched.
Yes, well, and we try and make it consistent with the theme of the meeting. So I added in the latest headlines here to add some context with respect to rate adjustments. So, as you can see, there's somewhat of a regional vibe. We're part of ISO New England, so a lot of the news that I add in here doesn't necessarily pertain just to Massachusetts. So as you see, the first few articles here are Connecticut. And so as you can see, I won't speak too much to the first one, which is largely natural gas, but everything's linked, right? A portion of our portfolio is through natural gas fuel generation. And perhaps some folks that are tuned in might also still have natural gas heating. We've talked about that, and there's been plenty of news on that situation. But again, context here, the 38% increase, which, let's see, I left in the article two bullets down from last month, which puts it in context, right? So our rate adjustment, which we've talked about the last couple of meetings, is in response to the power supply and transmission, which without it, we would be, in the red. Versus some of these adjustments are also consistent. Take the Eversource report here. They're still making $811 million in profit. So their rate adjustments are only on top of that, whereas ours are strictly necessary, highlighting our business model. And then one of the things that I think is, unacceptable, but in that category of rate adjustment politics here is the second bullet point where, here in Massachusetts we have the DPU, in Connecticut they have PURA. And so they have been fighting back on some of these rate adjustments, and in response, the investor-owned utilities have threatened and subsequently cut investments in the infrastructure. So I guess the point being, none of that exists in this ecosystem, and so that's just the operating environment we monitor, as these are the major players in the region. So then, just some of the other further pertinent articles with respect to local impacts of larger policies. So this is with respect to some more context on how Canadian hydro or Canadian electric imports more generally might impact Shrewsbury more locally. In summary, basically, most of our portfolio is hedged, hence the intent of our strategy with our power supply policy. However, the things that would be impacted would be the 20% of the portfolio which is unhedged, or any contracts that might be expiring, say this year or at any time when this economic situation continues. So right now we're in a pretty good spot with our hedging. But just that's a common question, so I wanted to make sure I kept that information there as a reference point. That we do monitor that, and it would impact any near-term engagements that we have to enter into. I'll skip over that with the competitive supplier. Doesn't really apply to us. It's just as another context with respect to how we're a one-stop shop, and our power supply rate making, is far and above what you get from a third-party supplier outside of Shrewsbury. And then just more DPU energy relief. Just a noteworthy point, there's a letter of 26 mayors asking the DPU to try and lower energy costs, which I have in there as a relevant topic as we go and monitor the legislative proposals or regulatory proposals that might impact Shrewsbury. There are a few on the table, I think, that are ill-advised, and so we've provided our feedback to make sure we don't inject unnecessary costs into the Shrewsbury rate base for services that we already provide, and provide at a superior way. So that's kind of the brief summary of those legislative bits for your reading pleasure. We have one open recruitment that continues, the senior broadband technologies network administrator, or perhaps a more shortened version, network engineer. So if you know anyone, that is on our website. These are roles that we know are more difficult to recruit for. So we've tried different mechanisms to get the word out and attract a competitive candidate pool. And then on a related note, I figured I would tie the two together. The Shrewsbury High School Career Fair on March 4th, we had a nice showing there. Thought that was good. That's always a good event. So we'll start early. We'll go right to high school, and we'll keep hounding people until they put their name in the hat. And then
Is that a hard hat?
exactly.
And
yes.
some of them are hard hat.
Hard
yeah,
hat.
Linemen and whatever, yep.
Yep. And the share of the warmth, always a nice one to report on. So there's some statistics there. And the 84 accounts received $150 each, which is a nice thing to provide. We talked about the rates. And then just with respect to updates on what's going on around town, with respect to, in this section here, the electric side, the AMI project being the most prominent project. We are, as you can see, we're 57% deployed. I think our folks are doing a really good job there. All of those meters, this is a meters change out that's been done entirely in-house with just a couple of people. So, you have just a few people literally going to every meter and changing it out personally. So
And
that's
we're doing this in coordination with DPW?
well,
Or
not
are they
necessarily.
going to try to blend in their meter reading with ours?
Yes, we have the backbone system to transport the meter data back. So then, because that exists, they can then, if they procure the compatible system on the water meter side, they can use our backbone and avoid that cost on their end and that redundancy.
Great.
So yes, so we're working with them on that. And yeah, that should, I'm not quite sure on their project timeline, but we did sign the necessary documents to allow them access to the network and everything, so that should enable them to start their water project. Let's see, what else is, I thought, would be interesting here. I guess solar on the police department, that's in the permitting phase. I believe we had a site walk there yesterday, so, that one's still progressing, especially as we get into the nice weather. You'll see some of these projects become more visible as we can actually engage in construction without worrying about blizzards and snow.
Excuse me, you got the Worcester City Motel.
Oh.
Aren't they already in there? Worcester City, isn't that already developed? What is that?
That is there, so that one is upgrades to their electric infrastructure where some of that is dependent on when the deposits are paid. So now with the deposits paid, we could file the DOT permits. So that's just upgrades itself to their individual service to the building.
I guess the overall,
Yeah.
you're looking at down, we've got more areas that we're getting with fiber, but the real issue is we're bringing in more installers.
Oh, okay, yes.
I think that's probably important to point out to folks, because,
Yep.
I mean, people have seen SELCO and our contractors with a SELCO slapped on the side of it, installing fiber, and they're wondering why it's not up to their door now. And I think part of that is that the demand signal is we're gonna be out full stretched, right? We're
Yes.
we're not only doing evenings, we're doing weekends.
Yes.
And we've brought an extra supplier on, right? Rick, do you want to,
Yeah.
can you address the positive side of that?
Absolutely. So we brought on Certex, which is a new installer. They are going to start doing Saturday installs and evening installs during the week. So we're just trying to get all hands on deck, get fiber to every single resident and business in Shrewsbury. So it'll be good.
Yeah. Okay, and then just while you're here, the mesh was good, our mesh.
Yeah, so
it was going
mesh-
to be April 1st, but because of supply and demand.
Yeah, so mesh, Aaron can let me know if I'm wrong, but mesh is ready to go pretty much in our system. We just need inventory. So our mesh routers will be delivered at the end of April / early May, and then we'll target a rollout there to current Wi-Fi subs with the mesh units.
Yeah.
So
And this is more important, and maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, for those folks who like, it would be arduous for us to bring a fiber through their basement or whatever to where their local modem slant, the router is located, whereas mesh, you can bring it, just come into the house, the basement, set it up, and boom, blast it through the rest of the house and not have to worry about drilling holes in walls and everything else. I mean, that's my take on it, but is it about right?
Yeah, from a technical perspective, for sure. So we don't have to go through walls or floors or anything like that. We'll have our one main unit wherever the drop into the home is, and then we have these mesh satellites that can go around the house. As far as like the mesh launch initiative, from a technical perspective, yeah, we have it all built. The supply of devices coming in is because we're getting their newest, latest, and greatest mesh unit. It has faster speed capabilities, so it's a little delayed on that perspective, but we've already received a small batch to do all of our testing and everything, and all of our field technicians have gone through a robust training with the company that manufactures the unit itself. So we've got, they have dedicated apps to do installs that help them, do Wi-Fi analysis in a customer's home. So a lot has gone into it. So when we launch it, we want it to be, seamless. So.
Great.
Yep.
Good. Anything else?
No, I think that,
Okay, well, thank you very much for everybody. I guess the next important thing, the final thing is determine, right now, we're scheduled to meet on April 29th at 8 a.m. And there's some important things that have to be determined on that day, is that we have the scholarships, which, well, I think we received 37 applications, or plus or minus, that they're all solid performers, but you need to take a look at them and figure out who your top 5 are and feed that back to Val. If you're not going to be here, so we can get the numbers and see what we got. And then also we had the union contract, I think
Potentially, yeah.
will be, basically, that should be hopefully being able to discuss on that day as well, so that's fairly important. However, I know some folks are going to be out of town. You said you
Yeah,
were
I'm out of town,
right?
unfortunately, yep.
I am
Marie,
too.
you're going to be here, you think?
I will be here, yeah.
You will be? Tony?
I'll be out of town.
You're out of town. And then Matt's going to be a question, so.
We push it the following week, I'm fine. The following
that would be the
Tuesday.
6th.
We can't.
Well, that's election day.
We
You
can't.
can't, you won't be able to use this place as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
polling place.
Right.
And I'm a warden of one of the precincts, so I won't even be here.
Even the following Monday.
And how about the previous week, that's school vacation, does that affect?
I won't be here.
You won't be,
I'll be out too.
okay.
You're going for 2 weeks, right? Yep.
Okay. Why don't we leave it open for now, and we'll work
Yeah, we can.
We'll work on what's preferentially, if it's a Wednesday or a Thursday, or
Oh.
a night meeting, or whatever we gotta do to make it happen, but I think it's important that we, well,
Yeah, can we push it, oh, you're gone.
Monday, May 5 works. If we want to
When
do
do we have to have the vote in for the scholarship?
the scholarship is really,
Val?
what we set up is because the town, all we're trying to do is meet the high school's requirements for their awards for the seniors. I know they graduate the end of the month,
I know, but when are the award ceremonies?
but the ceremony is the first week or second week of, for the high school.
Of May.
high
Of
school.
May?
May, yeah.
Okay, so we need to have that decided before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that, can we, I know it's supposed to be an open meeting for the final vote, but if everybody can get at least their inputs in, Val, she can give us a place of where we're at, that
Yeah, I sent mine in.
Are you
so-
available? Oh, you've already set yours in?
Yeah, I just sent mine in.
I'd send
Oh,
mine.
Oh, God, you guys are efficient. I thought
Well, we
I
also
saw an
not, we're
email
also
come
not
through.
tax accountants, so.
Yeah, right.
We have
We're
time.
not as busy.
Does Wednesday work, or are you gone the whole week, Tony?
Yeah, I'll be gone
The whole week, okay.
down in Virginia.
Yeah.
Then,
The week of the 14th. Well, that's tax.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, yeah.
Well, unless you wanted to do it
Well, it's school
Thursday.
school vacation, what did we say, Tony, you're not gonna be here, but was Tony the only
But
one?
the rest of us.
Thursday the
yeah.
17th, if you want to do it April 17th.
Yeah, can we do it April 17th?
Works for me, yeah.
That work for you? Okay, why don't we plan
In
on?
the morning, yeah.
Yeah, will that work for you as far as, you think, as far as,
April 17th?
contract?
Thursday, April 17th?
Okay, so
Thursday,
so
17th.
Thursday,
Yeah,
April,
no, I can do
Thursday,
that.
or is that Tuesday?
No,
That's a
Thursday.
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 April 15th is a Tuesday, so
Thursday, April 17th.
I will not be here that day.
Okay. And all
I
those
wish I could be
extensions
here.
on the 17th. Okay, okay, so the 17th of April at 8 AM, we'll see if the room's available. If not, we'll meet elsewhere.
This room is open until 9:15.
Okay, well, it shouldn't be that long. Okay,
A 1-hour meeting on the 17th.
yeah, that's always good to be closed
Yeah.
on the other end, so this
Okay.
is just to make sure we get done.
Perfect.
Okay, and with that said,
Great.
we have motion to adjourn?
Tony,
Tony?
So moved.
second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, and we were adjourning at, looks like 8:51. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.